the Hall of Justice, mutated by cosmic waste.
What's up, everybody? Steve Say, Talking Comics, standing outside of the Javits Center in New York City. I'm standing here with Mr. Kasra Ghanbari.
You said that right.
I did say it right. Damn right I said it right. This is one of the many men and forces behind 44Flood. Why don't you tell everybody what 44Flood is?
I guess at our heart, we're an artist collective. We're a bunch of artists that came together who've had careers in galleries, comic book industry, music industry. We've had some weird side jobs, garbage collecting, which is an art. And we brought our frustrations, ideas, our what we thought was forward thinking, our design sensibilities, and our friends, and said, let's create something with a little bit of a skin on it. Let's not just throw stuff out into the world and get a paycheck and basically be an illustrator. Let's take some of our ideas and build an underlying ethos to what we're doing, and put out some beautiful arts and content driven stuff. And we went out on Kickstarter about a year and a half ago. We had a dream to do an anthology called Tome, which was massive, 12 by 18 inches, show off art, curatorial bias of perspective with people in the comic book industry all the way to fine artists that are selling their paintings for $30,000. It didn't matter to us, musicians, whatever. And we got a massive backing, which helped us basically launch our company and gave us the confidence basically to do all the things that we talked about the year or two prior to it. So we're an artist collective and an art book publisher, and we do other weird stuff.
That's fantastic, man. Let me ask you.
That down now, 'cause that last line, yeah.
All right, so now that we know what it is, let's say for you personally, what's been your favorite aspect or your favorite part about being on the ground level of 44Flood?
There's nothing like sharing a studio with other people. It's something that I could only wish for anybody else who has any. You have a bone in your left toe that wants to do something creative. The only thing I could ever hope for you is get a studio, share it with people, share your ideas, push each other. There is nothing like it. And then outside of that is just the relationships with the artist, coming up with an idea for a book, and designing it, pushing it, making it real, literally manifesting something in the world. It's like a form of magic. You know, one of the guys I work with, Menton 3, is a painter in the comic book industry, does gallery work. He takes oil paints and mashed up ground jewels and smashes them on a surface.
Does he really use ground jewels?
Yes, he makes his own paint sometimes. But the point is he takes all this. He takes hematite and a mineral and charred bones, and for blacks, and he smears them around, and he creates an image and things that people are moved by. I mean, that's not him saying it. They say it to him. They say it to us all the time. There's a magic in that. There's a magic in manifesting your idea, and there's a magic with breathing your intent and your ideas into something and having it have life and have life for other people. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Dude, I'm moved just by you talking about it. So let me ask you this: give us a funny Menton story, if you would. One of the many.
Oh man, okay. A couple of months ago, we get real busy. I mean, we forget our names, forget the days of the week stuff, and don't know what time. We forget to eat. I mean. We were really busy. He left the house one day. He has a small house there in the north side of Chicago with his wife and child, and he walked out the backyard and he realized that something felt strange, and he had his keys in one hand and his cigarettes in his other hand, his little morning ritual to have a cigarette walking into the studio. He realized that something was off, and he looked down and he wasn't wearing pants. So he'd gotten out the house, out the backyard, through the back wooden gate to the alley, walking to the studio without pants on.
Did he have anything on underneath?
He had underwear on, yeah. I mean, he's got fancy underwear.
What kind? I want to know.
I think that they're made out of
Are they made out of crushed jewels?
they're made out of silicon, so that he never has to wash them.
Does he use the materials that he finds in them in his paintings?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right, let's move away from Menton's undergarments and talk about, you guys had a major announcement earlier this morning, and you can tell it far better than I can. So why don't you tell us all about what went down this morning? It's a pretty big deal.
Well, we've done pretty well with our books with Kickstarter, and people have supported us, and we've been able to make some really beautiful books. But we want to make more books, and we'd like to get them out to more people. We struggled to get them to retailers and comic book sellers and book retailers, and we needed a partner to help us develop some of the projects and definitely distribute them. And we looked around who we know, we looked around the comic book industry, and we'd worked with IDW before. They make everything from IP licensed properties to awesome creator-owned books, real experimental stuff, and gorgeous art books. So they don't just hit on one note. And we do all sorts of stuff all over the place too. So we started talking to Chris Ryle and Ted Adams over there a little while ago, and we stepped it up the last couple of months, and we signed a partnership with them and announced it this morning, where we'll be co-developing and distributing a lot of our books with IDW. And it might be a comic book, it might be an art book, it might be something a little off kilter, but we have a fantastic partner in IDW for that.
Dude, that's pretty sick. That's a huge opportunity.
We're really excited, and I think Ted Adams and the IDW crew is excited, and let's see what happens. There's going to be some announcements soon.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Do you currently have anything in the fire? Are you going to be writing anything? I mean, I know you do a lot of curating, you do a lot of organizing, but are you going to have another story out soon? Or not soon, but later?
I'm making Tome Volume 2 now, and I'm going to give you a bunch of excuses, I think. So I'll cut past the excuses. I'm going to write something in 2014. We did this Vice series, we're calling it. The first book was Lust, with Steve Niles, Ben Templesmith, and Menton, with a forward with Warren Ellis, right? And it's going to be the first book in a 7 Vice Virtue series with an 8th and weird final book. The second book in that series is most probably going to be Gluttony, and I picked out some artists, and I'm going to write that. As far as like comic books and like a creator-owned thing, Menton and I have been talking about this book that we are way too excited about for about 2 years. It was going to be like our like a Sexy Beast anti-Gandhi thing. It was going to be like the anti-monocyte thing. It's going to be this fun, trippy, crazy, would be an awesome movie. Anyway, 2014. I think we're going to do that book together. Yeah.
That's great. I can't wait to read that. So let me ask you this then. Are you reading anybody now? Do you read comics at all in your spare time?
I do, but I mean, a lot of it is catch up. I'm reading Sienkiewicz's Daredevil Love and War right now again, and Elektra. I read the first 6 issues of Bedlam. I mean, anything that Riley Rossmo does. Dia de los Muertos and...
Yeah, Dia de los Muertos was awesome.
I love him. I'm rereading Greenway just because as time passes, that series has become more and more special to me. The world building that they did on that, the color schemes and stuff that Riley did. God damn.
Isn't it amazing how that wrapped up? Like when it got pulled and they gave him the extra 10 pages, just how incredibly well it all worked out in the end.
They're two clever guys, and then they worked really closely with one another. And when you actually understand the world that you're playing in and you can walk through it, 10 pages or one, you figure it out. It's a really strange thing. It's talking about it, I'll just sound like an asshole, so I'm not going to talk about it. But it doesn't really surprise me because those guys were doing the real thing. Right. Yeah. So anything that Riley does, anything that Ted McKeever does, he's a hero. He's a legend. He's one of the most unique voices ever in sequential art. Miniature Jesus is out right now. I'll always read his stuff. But I'm not a huge comic book reader. I just don't have a lot of time. I'm reading really esoteric books on alchemy and iconography and on the vices and virtues and the histories. Like I'm doing a lot of editorial and basic research for the books that I'm going to end up writing. To have an actual sound basis for some of the stuff that we're attempting to do at 44 Flood.
That's great, man. That's really great.
Back to school and not paying tuition and not getting the degree. It's like what I did before, pretty much. Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Why don't you tell everybody what's going on in the city right now? You've curated the Last Rites Gallery. You have a showcase going on. What are the details about that?
Well, Tome 2 will be out in February of 2014, and it has a theme, melancholia, and we're talking about almost like the inspired, trance-like creative state that people go through as they go through internal changes and try to describe through a painting, writing, whatever it be, what it is that they're experiencing, what it is that they're feeling. So Tome 2 is based on that idea, and rather than wait till February when the book came out, we thought, why don't we put together a gallery show? And Last Rites Gallery right here in New York City, which is part of Paul Booth's Tattoo Parlor. It's one of the best dark art, surrealist art galleries in the world, bar none. And I talked to them February, March of this year about having a show there. They loved Tome 1, they loved the theme, they loved the idea, they loved the artist, and they said yes. We scheduled it to open just before New York Comic Con, but on Saturday, October 12th, during New York Comic Con, right when the show ends, the gallery show is still running. We're going to have a big party there. And there's about 22, 23 artists in Tome 2 and about 22, 23 paintings of art that will appear in Tome 2. So they get a real good flavor of what we're talking about. And there's about a dozen artists in the show that are going to be there that night too. And everyone's invited. This isn't like, wear a tie and be pretty. Just come, have fun.
I actually packed a really nice shirt for this, so I'm going to get a little dapper for you.
There's time for some spaghetti to be thrown onto that thing. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come outside in beautiful New York City, outside of Comic-Con, talking to us. And Kasra Ghanbari of 44 Flood, I've been Steve Say. Thank you very much, everyone.
Talk,